From one class act to another, very important people, certainly in the job that we do in broadcasting. Our next inductees cycling fan around the world. The soothing, reassuring, dulcet tones entering your living rooms. I suppose it'd be on your mobile phones nowadays, wouldn't it? And your iPads and all that sort of stuff. But back when the telly was the only way to keep up with things and maybe buying a copy of Cycling Weekly, that was how we knew about what happened in cycling. The Tour de France introduced millions of English-speaking viewers to their trusted guides for 3 weeks each July. Phil and his very good friend, and you have to say co-pilot really, Paul Sherwin, would call each day's action. They'd have the little compact commentary booth near the finish line. We know what that's like, don't we? Yeah. A little broom cupboard right on the line, just behind where the riders finish them. They don't see the riders probably once a day, just when they zoom past them right at the finish line. But they managed to tell you about everything. The culture, the wine, the castles, and of course, the racing. The double act was seamless, wasn't it? Friendly, inclusive. Didn't matter, did it really, if you liked cycling or not? Didn't matter if you didn't know anything. But they were always passionate when required, factual when necessary. As Phil told this very magazine, Ruler, in 2007, always imagine that your viewer is not a cyclist. And that's how we, the viewing public, entered the mystical world of continental bike racing, out of our own comfort zones, as we heard from Phil Anderson earlier on today, into an alien culture, if you like, and all of its little idiosyncrasies and all the things that happen on the road, off the road, and thanks to Phil and Paul, in our living rooms as well. The cycling audience started to grow, and in fact, thanks to them, it grew exponentially so. All in the 1980s, Liggett and Sherwin were always there to guide everybody through it, though. The complex tactics and nuances of Grand Tour racing. The English-speaking riders, we saw Phil Anderson. We have Greg LeMond here as well tonight as well. Yeah. We'll have more of that in a minute, by the way. And of course, his win in 1986 attracted a heck of a load more viewers, not just here, but in their other huge market in the United States of America. So suddenly, English-speaking riders were major contenders, and they had a much bigger audience. They carried on in their fashion, helping people understand the sport. Americans in their millions thrilled the exploit of LeMond, Lance Armstrong. Australia rejoiced alongside Cat Evans. And of course, we got to recent times. The South Africans were Robbie Hunter, Bradley Wiggins, Geraint Thomas, Mark Cavendish, and all of his 30 stage wins. The duo worked across the whole of Europe. They went also to Australia in January. Didn't have a bad life, to be fair, traveling around. No broom cupboards in West London for them. They were at the Springs. You actually could still see Phil there sitting in the stand in Roubaix every April. People and call the racing. 4 decades on the road with the greatest cyclists of their era, talking about the sport they love, and of course, doing it for them. Doesn't really get much better than that, does it? Sadly, a relative recent newcomer, of course, but when I turned up, I know that Paul was an exceptionally nice man. He was nice to everybody. He was just a down-to-earth, very gentle soul. And he talked to the first person that turned up, the old newbie, and he was a lovely, lovely guy. So, after all that they achieved, please welcome into the Ruler Hall of Fame, Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwin, who are recipients of the Le Patron Award for 2019. Now, As Orla just pointed out, in a great tradition of award ceremonies, unfortunately Phil couldn't be with us tonight, but our colleague Ned Bolting did manage to catch up with him, and this is what he sent.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me huge pleasure to announce the public vote and the award for the patron, the Rouleur Patron of 2019, goes to, well, two of the most familiar names, voices and faces that have ever graced television screens and done it for a long time. Phil Liggett and Paul Sherwin, Phil.
Yes. Well, everyone, I'm so flattered. I'm going to be lost for words, and your commentators should never be lost for words. But I've just been told that we have won this award, both Paul and myself. And as you know, it's been incredibly sad for me to work after what would have been our 34th year together. First to remind me of that, but to be recognised by Rouleur and by this great award, Le Patron, because in fairness, Paul always used to talk about the patron of the Tour de France. He's not here, but I know with the outpouring of love since he did pass away, he had no idea how much people liked him. He would have been a great recipient of this award, and I would have been alongside him. We missed that occasion, but hey, I'm extremely flattered. And a great vote of thanks to everybody who voted for us. And when I get to see Paul, which may not be too far away, I'll show him the award. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, one final time, Paul Sherwin and Phil Liggett.
And now, just to show that we aren't just having video messages in tonight's Hall of Fame induction, next up we have the winner of 3 yellow jerseys, 2 rainbow jerseys, and a lifetime of firsts. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rouleur Hall of Fame, Greg LeMond.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned Paul Sherwin. That was great. I wish Paul was here too. That was very nice that you honored Paul and Phil, but sad that Paul is not here. He's a great guy. I raced with him. Like you said, very nice guy. So it's great. Glad you did that. Thank you very much. So I don't know what to say. I feel like I'm the older you get, the better you thought you were. So kind of that kind of deal. God, I'm 89, 30 years. I'm still getting an award. That's kind of crazy.
Hard earned, Greg. Take a seat if you will.
Thank you.
We'll chat you through all the reasons that you got that award. First of all, though, I want to know where you're going to put it.
Her. So I'm going to put it right below her.
Where does
I got a full-size statue of her, 3D printed.
Where's Kathy?
I have a friend here who's from France. He said, Greg, you should make a statue of your wife. Never get up, to your knees, just sit and pray that she still stays with you. So.
Is this true?
Yeah. No, he says that. Yeah. So, no, I think I'll keep it in my living room.
Greg, what career, what list of achievements that you've had? Do moments like this, I mean, you've talked about your career a lot, and that's part of your career now, I guess, and reflected an awful lot on the wonderful achievements. Does something like this make you reflect on that in any kind of a different way?
I said it's kind of crazy 30 years later that I'm getting something like this, but yeah, I think when you get older, you look back with fond memories. Sometimes it's also, you know, you wish there's a lot of stuff you wish you could have done at that period. I missed a few years of my prime, but when I look back, you know, you take what you can get, and the fact that I won 3 tours, a couple world championships, I'm pretty happy with that. Some riders never get that chance, and so I'm really happy I was able to spend, at least start cycling when I did, and excuse me, this thing's falling out. No, I look back, I don't really have any regrets. To race until like I think when you start racing, you want to race to about 60 years old, but you realize you can't. Sometimes I still dream that I'm 50 years old getting in the Tour de France. Actually, I think, how can I be racing this well and I weigh 50, 60 pounds heavier? I can't believe I'm that good.
Oh,
So
the beautiful world
it doesn't
of
go out of your
dreams.
brain. Racing's in your soul.
So, and it's what you don't realize
Once you're a pro racer, it's hard to go back and race a normal race.
so you always want to be like in the Tour de France or Paris-Roubaix. It's still ride a little bit much. Should ride more.
Great. We were talking about Phil and Paul there and the huge audience they started to get in the 1980s. What effect did your victories have on America?
Well, just without TV, it'd probably never been in '84 was my first year. That was really the first time I think they really started covering it. You have to have an American rider doing well. Then '85 got more coverage, '86. But it was really '89 that really kind of, you always have to have that comeback, It's a good story. It's got to have some drama.
But I think quite a bit, didn't it, that
But
one?
I think what is amazing today,
I was in China, then I was in Bangkok, and I've got a taxi cab driver. And guy's 52 years old. He knew the Tour de France, knew who I was. And today you have people all around the world watching the Tour de France. It's a different era. It's great, and TV has opened the sport to so many different countries. And you see Malaysia, you see Thailand, Southeast Asia, where the sport's really growing. And I think so different than when I was racing. I think Phil and everybody can relate to that. It was really a spectator sport and racers. Today it's participants, and they're much more tied to Sport, and I think it's a much healthier base of people who love cycling.
Greg, winning is obviously what cements you in the history books, but I guess it's rivalry that creates the stories and makes those stories so epic. When we look back at the wonderful, and I delight in it. I delight in the rivalry that you had with Bernardino. I think that it makes your story all the more beautiful to read about. Do you look back on that and I guess feel a bit grateful maybe for?
Make it a water. I don't before I talk. You get me
Sorry.
nervous, so
Yeah.
Let's put this
I don't want to just.
Rivalry in particular, I think, with any kind of affection these days.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I thought Hino was one of the best of all times, and it was such a good teammate. But
Was
he won't say this.
he?
But we wait.
Come on, you're among friends here. You don't have to pretend.
I thought he was really one of the best, and he was. So I beat one of the best, fair and square. Even though he won't admit that today, but
It's not that often you get a race, you got 2-3 people you have to race your own teammates. So when I think back of it, it was kind of, Cyril Guimard was my first coach, and he picked me out when I was 18 years old. When he was 18, 19 years old, Fignon. We had an incredible team in '84 when Hino left. I was third, Fignon won this tour.
What do you think it's like these days as an organised sport fan? So I'm thinking of your rivalry with Bernardino and the fact that you guys fought it out on the road. You almost fought it out off the road. It was very physical. It was very obvious. It was very blatant. And these days, teams tend, unless they're Movistar, tend to be maybe a little bit less obvious.
I think
about
it's going to be a
that.
great race next year with Chris Froome and
But
the
do you-
Colombian.
do you
It's
think
going to be
that-
great. Who's
do you
going to
think they're
win?
gonna fight that out? Do you think they're allowed to have an honesty to that?
The truth is, it was rare in '86.
Yeah.
Typically, you race for a team, you race for somebody.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of teasing. I think if I'm Bernal, I don't want to come Bernal.
Bernal. I'm just going to say, one thing I regret was kind of giving the benefit of my doubt to my teammate, because at the end of your career, it's just you. That friend that you thought you had, it's not your friend. So, but I think
It is a professional sport, and you sign a contract, and if it's whoever you have to work with to do it, you have to sacrifice. But I wish I was a little more selfish. I said at times where I would have just gone for myself. But it's a team sport. You got to play along with the team, and but I think I know this is not probably popular with modern day racers right now, but I wish they'd race without radios for period, because I think it creates a little more uncertainty, less organized. It takes a little more, could create a little more drama. I know the directors don't like that because they like to talk to the riders, but it might be good. You never know. Mix it up a little bit.
There's some support. some support for that there.
But I mean, I think it's, you know, Peter Sagan, and he's an instinctive rider. He doesn't need a director to tell him what he's doing. And that's what racing used to be about, where it's instinctive, your teammate, you're talking to him. And I think there's like Van der Poel, got some young riders that are I mean, you know, but it's adopt, things change. I used the radio back in 91, 92. It was good enough one race. That was good. But I think, no, I'm
Excited right now for, I see this year, and I see some new races coming up, and World
as an innovation.
Yeah, I do. Actually, I think at first I'm going, what? But absolutely. You imagine Olympics when you got men and women. It's going to be one of the best events ever, I think. Really.
Would you keep the current format, or is there little things that you might change about it? I know that a lot of people like the concept, but would maybe change one or two little rules.
Like, what do they don't like about it?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
would you do it the exact same way?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think
order and.
I think you got to. I mean, it's first time, and at the Olympics, you know, it's going to be in the Olympics, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to give it a year or two. I do miss. I always thought a great thing would be a relay triathlon too. It'd be great to have the best runner, best swimmer, best cyclist from each country. But I do think this mixed relay is great. I think it's there's a lot more women riding bikes today. It brings people into it. Yeah, it's not. Used to be when I was racing, literally it was like you go to Italy and through Italy, there's all men. You couldn't see any women. And today you see women riding bikes doing Grand Fondos. It's so much better.
What about, we're talking about innovation and change, but one of the traditions that feels like it's set in stone these days is this last ceremonial day of a Grand Tour. What about an innovation that's a throwback to the past and having a time trial into Paris instead? Because,
Why not? Why not?
That 8-second gap between you and
You got to wait till Tom Dumoulin. Somebody, you got to have a really. Got to let the climbers get it, think they have it, and then you throw in about a 60K time trial. Because really the race now is favoring climbers in a big way. So, and it's going to favor that. I mean, everybody's, you know, looks like everybody's shrinking in size. And so an all-rounder like Dumoulin is going to have a little more difficult time. So maybe you throw in that once in a while, throw a time trial at the end. It'd be a good thing.
Are you a fan of the ceremonial day into Paris, for example, because it feels the most iconic?
I wasn't in '89. I loved it.
Yeah.
Because at least I got a chance. I just wish the time trial was a little bit longer, but it's actually anticlimactic. I mean, I remember 86, I'm going, okay, all you're doing is worried about staying up to the end of the race. And yeah, it's good, but you can mix it up. Not every year for 100. It's one time, come on. Once every 5-10 years, change it up. Yeah.
I think it'd be
Won the tour on a Saturday afternoon.
right.
You know, we get to see somebody fall off the finish, but
But it can happen. People can lose the tour in 8 seconds, you know, never know. They can just be, get too confident, think it's, I said, Fignon,
Look at that.
Poor guy, he congratulated me the day before, and I said, oh my,
He's the same coach, and
Cyril Guimard said the race is never over till the finish line. I knew he lost the race that day, because he got off way too cocky. It's only a good thing, I think Hino and Fignon get very cocky, get a little full of themselves, then that's when you lose. It's true. But, no, I think,
many years ago.
Lee too is an award winner.
Yeah, absolutely.
what's that?
And gracefully too is an award winner here.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
What about American cycling at the moment then? How do you see it? You are the only American Tour de France winner.
Yeah, I laughed because somebody, oh, yeah, that,
I brought the history books.
Did we need to go there?
That wasn't mine.
no, that's okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Armstrong shouldn't have won the tour.
Should or shouldn't?
Should not have,
Should
no.
not have.
He was a massive cheat, and I'm going to say that. He was but worse than that, he was a bully. He really bullied people, and he was not a good person. And so, it's one thing about doping and all that, but there is about people, you know, I've never met anybody that's brutal against people in cycling. I mean, Pantani was a nice guy and in a difficult sport. But when you get kind of a mafia type attitude, that's what I really objected to is, you know, mocking Pantani. I mean, just denigrating people. Anybody questions. So that's always been my deal is treating people fairly. And so I'm you know, I'm going to be honest. I've had my share of 15 years of him stalking me. So I'm not going to hide it.
It's your right of reply.
Yeah. So sometimes it works out that some of the bad people don't get ahead, but it's rare. Unfortunately, sometimes they do. And no, you don't love me. No. My wife loves me. My wife, I think.
Does she ever shrine to you?
I think she does. She's talking about her old boyfriend, so I don't know. I hope she loves me. So, but yeah, that's not. Yeah, we'll talk about that some other day.
Yeah, maybe. But where do you see another American?
Well, I said Quinn Simons, this kid, 18 years, won the Junior World Championships. It's funny, somebody said, oh, well, God, there's no American cyclists. But right now, there's a high school mountain bike series going on, 30,000 kids. And you don't know where they're going to come out of. You think cycling's dead. Now you got this whole group of young Americans that are coming up. And you just need one really good rider to inspire somebody else. And I think it's, you know, the only thing with Armstrong, he did inspire a lot of people. And I think he's got a lot of people into it. But you need to hopefully continue that. And I always think,
Like our cycling federation was always elitist, always pure Olympics and all that. That's not where you get the champions. It's got to go to the high school level, even younger, and inspire kids there. And
if you get a lot of kids like into cycling at that point, you're going to get a lot of champions. The cream always rises to the top, and they'll find a way, but it's getting the people started is where you're going to create a lot of the real good champions, and they got to discover the sport. And I think that's what's great about mountain bike and cyclocross. It opens the sport to a lot more people, and mountain biking. So I'm a cyclist. I mountain bike. I did cycling. I think you always do everything, and I think you never know where they're going to come. This Quinn Simons, 18 years old, man. I saw his power output. He's strong. He's going to be a good rider, really good rider. So, you know,
a lot of riders in the world takes a lot of determination.
A lot of good talent, but it's the brain that pushes you. So I don't know what else to say.
Oh, wait, one last thing on the cross and the mountain bike. Well, we've seen Mathieu van der Poel as the biggest example, haven't we, in the last couple of years? Wout van Aert until his injury. Is there something about the training for those short kind of
Absolutely.
efforts that
Yeah,
that
100%.
makes them so good at
where you win races? Even if you look at the stage of the tour, there's probably 3 or 4 hours of really high workload, and then I like that because I
I think as much as you think things evolved, like here still the way they train some riders are kind of, it's like a throwback to the 80s.
And so you got a Van der Poel in that. They're coming in from much
Intense. You don't need to train 7 hours to win races.
the most important thing is where your threshold is, and your and that's where Van der Poel kind of showing people up.
trying to replicate that then and trying to make sure they do some progress even
You're doing a Tour de France, it's the hour up a climb, it's a time trial. And so you have to work in higher workloads, but that comes from, you're better off being really good shape from, you have to maintain a high level, and I think that's where Van der Poel and, I say Guimard riders are doing cyclocross, but it's got to have fun on the bike too. Cyclocross,
So
I love this idea, being able to train for a marathon by doing 10Ks. That's my kind of marathon thing. Keep it short.
But if you're running 10K, you're doing 4 minute 30 seconds. Is a breed capacity that's people kind of claim capacity so high.
Rate of burning. You're burning more fat. It's not just because you're burning more fat because you go slow. It's your aerobic capacity is much higher. So and that's what running kind of shows. That's what
You win races by being able to drop people. You don't win them by going like a diesel.
Yeah.
So it's true.
Are they the guys who excite you the most at the minute?
Still a cycling fan. Do these guys get you going?
This year, I have to say,
Kathy Bernal.
Yeah.
What's
You're not even. But I think you look at all the young riders winning. I said, I can't even. Belgian, come on. Remco, oh my God. 18, 19 years old, oh my God. Like Vanderpool, you got these guys that are under 22. Damn Pedersen, 20.
really great talent. I just think it's exciting when you see a new generation come.
Fignon, Phil Anderson too. There's these older guys are kind of going.
Numbered.
On the Peloton tour, a couple years to be good for cycling. I had to take my socks off. Thank you. Thanks. Okay. Thank you.
Now you're staying on next.
I'm coming on again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have Fabian Cancellara coming next, so there you go.
Yeah.
Plenty of Sporticus fans here.